If you see the Zarty bus, run away. Hello, Soyboru. My name is Carlos Sanchez, and I am a 22-year-old American Aryan living in the USA. I live alone in a shitty dorm in Memphis along with my roommate Trunella, and I'm currently studying at St. Z's Art University, as well as working as a part-time forklift operator at some warehouse. This is the story of how I ended up in the Zarty bus, and why you should run as fast as you can if you see it. I started my day as usual, woken up by the sound of gunshots and nigger babble out in the streets, and I got out of my bed and walked into the kitchen to have breakfast as usual. I was eating my bowl of bugs and Soylent when suddenly I heard a very loud shriek coming from my bathroom. I turned my head towards the bathroom door, and it suddenly slammed open, flashing me with the awful sight of Trunella's neo-vagina, which he had been attempting to dilate for the past hour with little success. Out of his pocket, Trunella pulled out a musty phone and shoved it in front of my face. Between the cum stains and goy slop seasoning remains on the phone's screen, I could see a reply on the Zarty that read, "Super Sage, on Zeliccon will never be sharty culture, comma. How could you tell?" Under the reply, there was a string of text in big, bold red letters that read, "User was banned for this post." After I had finished reading the reply, I looked up at Trunella's face and noticed he looked furious. His face was bright red and his ears seemed to be oozing green gas with pressure, making loud brapping noises as they violently slapped out. Realizing I had finished reading, he yelled, "You stupid bigot! You got our IP nished on the Zarty forever, and now I literally can't share wholesome agugu pee on the quay. You will buy me a VPN subscription now, white boy, as reparations for Trunecide, o algo." He was just about to get another sentence into his rant when suddenly my phone rang, which we both froze and looked at in unison. I picked up the phone and my boss started yelling at me and demanded that I get to the warehouse immediately or he would fire my lazy gringo ass. I picked up my keys from the table and walked toward my front door and opened it. But just before I could leave, Trunella said, "No mames, señor. You is not getting away with this way. You will hear from mi amigo, warrior Zelig, and you will is regret it, o algo." I didn't understand what he was talking about at that time, so I didn't think much of it and I left unbothered. I arrived at the warehouse an hour late and tried to sneak in from the back door. As soon as I opened it, I was met by the strange sight of an obese Mexican, which was about half my height, sitting in a plastic foldable chair. He was stroking his little pecker under a table which had a very old iPad on it, and the iPad had a Discord video call opened with various participants stroking their TBPs to a morbidly obese black baby. Before I could tell what the baby was doing on the video call, the stupid mutt saw me and punched the tablet, albeit rather weakly, and it slowly slid across the plastic table and fell on the ground, face up. The tablet had survived the punch, and you could still hear the moans from the video call, which made the retard spick nigger panic, and he started stomping it until the screen broke. I stood idly as I watched him grasp for air while grabbing his trans flag-colored shirt. Then, a few seconds passed before he started to muster between breaths. "Obsessed employee, no mames way, get to work, you stupid gringo." I promptly recognized this was my boss because of his voice, and, scared of getting fired and disgusted by what I had just seen, ran straight to my forklift and started working. A few hours passed and I was in the middle of picking up a box of Omori merchandise with my forklift when I suddenly got tapped in the shoulder. I turned around and saw my boss, which said, "Oye gringo, you no saying anything's of me gooning to pee, and I putting you on break right now. Is okay?" Before I could even open my mouth to accept his offer, he pulled a strange box out from his pocket and showed it to me. It was a pack of cigarettes, from a strange brand I had never seen before, one which had strange branding of little black kids with the text "Zarty" written on it. I was very put off by this, and seriously considered denying the offer, but I remembered how mad he was earlier, and decided to go along with it to make him happy. I grabbed the packet and he said, "Dis will BTFO the obsessed anxiety. Oh, I'll go." I made my way to the back alley I had previously snuck in from and, laying against the wall, lit one of the cigs and started taking a few puffs. The cigs tasted like a mix of various bodily fluids and feces, and they started to make me really dizzy. Before long, I got extremely sick from the cigs and threw them away, suspecting they were laced. Just as I was about to step back into the warehouse to yell at my stupid spick boss, I heard the brakes of a vehicle stopping behind me. I turned around and to my surprise, an orange bus was waiting for me, awkwardly parked in the entrance of the alley. The bus creeped me out from the moment I saw it. It had tinted windows and was riddled with weird scribbles, some small and some big, of which I could only make out two that read ZWABAG and "Moral Fags Lost." Before I could make out any more scribbles, the double doors opened, releasing a green fog that slowly descended from the bus onto the sidewalk. As the fog cleared, I could slowly start to see an obese nigger struggling to step down the stairs of the bus. He had tinted bright orange hair and was not wearing anything other than a small white shirt. The shirt had various awards pinned to it, as well as an orange tie, and one of the awards read, "Gooned to my feet again award," which instilled fear in me as I suddenly realized who this nigger was. He waddled his way into the alley, and as he entered my vicinity, he exclaimed, "Oh, you is el antizelig that Trunella sayed me about earlier. You is in big trouble, white boy. Come with me or else." Bear in mind that I'd been struggling to escape since I saw the nigger step down from the bus, but the Jotty cigs had significantly weakened my joints, and I was unable to open the back door, no matter how hard I tried. The fat nigger fuck finally made his way to me after 2 minutes of waddling, and grabbed my skinny arm with his elephant foot hand. Anyway, I understood any resistance was futile, so I just let myself be dragged along the sidewalk like a dead animal. It took him 8 minutes and a Coca-Cola break to drag me to the front door of the bus, which he lazily pushed me into. The door closed behind me, and as I slowly stepped up the stairs, the driver started swearing at me in a foreign language because I was taking too long. When I had finally made it up the stairs, I tried asking the driver where we were going, but he didn't speak English and made a gesture telling me to take a seat. Before me were 2 rows of seats, to my left and my right, and a third row on the back separated from the others. The one on the left was painted yellow, and it was filled with Indians playing with their on shit and gooning, and the one on the right was painted red, and it was filled with spics from a wide variety of South American countries. They were either furiously masturbating or typing on the screens attached to the back of the seats. As I made my way down the hall of the bus, looking for a free spot to sit on, I got splattered with chunks of shit and various cum shots from random directions. I mostly tried to keep my head down as I walked down the bus, because the sheer smell and constant sounds of moaning and violent braps had already been enough to give me a realistic panic attack. When I finally made it to the middle of the bus, I lifted my head up and finally got to see the back row better. It was painted orange and was occupied mostly by a wide variety of Slavs and Euro mutts, puking on each other and taking turns raping a My plushie. The sight of an anemic Slav ejaculating inside of it was enough to make me puke on the floor, which some Indians from the yellow side started to lick. I finally made it to a free spot on the red side and sat down, and the bus started moving. Next to my seat was a very short Argentinian nigger wearing a red sweater and furiously masturbating to Maya P on his seat's tablet screen. I tried to ignore him. However, I quickly noticed he was mumbling. The screams and moans coming from the rest of the bus made it practically impossible to understand anything of what he was saying. However, I managed to hear some stray words like Aryan and soy cuck every once in a while. Trying to distract myself from everything, I turned on the screen embedded into the back of the seat in front of me and tried to play some games on it. I quickly found out it had only 3 apps available: Telegram, Tor, and File Explorer, as well as some P-stash folders that were sitting on the home screen. I opened Tor to try and see if I could play some games on it or something, but it automatically opened myaplier.win. I tried closing the browser tab, but it just rebuked me for being a, quote, obsessed my cuck. I tried closing Tor altogether, but this time the website got really mad and said, "Oh, you is going to get it ahora, pinche soy cuck." It then proceeded to open Soyboru on my account and post Maya P, as well as automatically posting AI-written blog posts on /soy with an embedded Myaplier image. I checked back on the Argent simian sitting next to me, and I was relieved to see he wasn't stroking his pecker anymore. Although my relief was short-lived, as I quickly realized he was writing rape fantasies on the Mini, as well as writing SNCA 50-line posts on the Zarty about how heckin' wholesome his wife, Maya, was, and how he loved cuddling her or whatever. He quickly got pinned on the Zarty for his post, and the mods started repaying TSMT under it. I was pretty desperate at this point, so I tried to pull out my phone and call for help, only to find out it had been replaced with the remote to a vibrator. Thankfully, the Argent simian beside me was ESL, and I asked him where we were going, to which he replied, "Oh, we is going to courts on Braps Zeliccon. Me is super excited way. He say there will be real-life my and shit nigga." I asked him what Zeliccon was about, and the nigger just stared at me like I just came from another planet or some shit. Either way, I ended up getting kicked from my seat for that, so I was out on the bus's hallway again. It didn't take long before I found an empty spot a few rows ahead on the yellow side, so I sat down. To no one's surprise, the jeet sitting next to me was masturbating. His seat was plagued with random chunks of feces from a variety of species, and I could see a steady stream of diarrhea flowing down gently from the Pajit's bare-ass cheeks pressed onto the Vanta-brown, cum-stained seat. I muttered, "Hey, how long till we get to Zeliccon?" Suddenly, the jeet stopped stroking and clenched his teeth. He slowly turned his head to me and started losing his shit, yelling at me. I tried to calm him down, but he just got more aggressive and tried to choke me. Just before I was about to black out, I started to hallucinate memories of Paul, which reminded me the one thing VPN users loved: BP threads. I muttered, "I'll miss you, BP," with the last inch of air in my lungs, and suddenly the jeet let go of my neck. He said, "BP? I love BP, sir. BP and shit-flinging on Paul reminding me of Aryan family back in India. We using to loved throwing cow dung in streets during traditional Aryan dung fight festival." He then asked me if I could pose for his Tinder PFP, as he was searching for, quote, Aryan Israeli women's to show me bobs and vagine. I agreed in fear of being choked again, and we started swiping together on his phone. I got bored after he had swiped on about 50 profiles with no matches, and I put my finger on the screen to swipe myself. He then proceeded to bite my finger, yelling, "Stop, touch my Aryan wives, Tsar." I ran down the hallway in fear of being attacked by the jeet again, and I suddenly slipped on something and fell face up on the ground. When I tried to get up, I realized I was now surrounded by a bunch of Euromut ESL folks, and they were all looking furiously at me. I looked at the ground again, and I saw the My plushie they were raping earlier was now missing an eye, and I had ripped its bow tie off while slipping on it. Terrified, I tried to apologize, but one of them approached me, and just as he was gonna grab me, I heard a voice off in the distance yell, "Don't touch him, brothers." The fat mutt that was trying to grab me suddenly stopped, and all the Euromutts and Slavs stepped aside. They all made way for a buff individual with a strange shirt that had all kinds of logos on it, which then grabbed me and said, "Hola, no soy. Mi nombre es Odessen. You will be of great use to me, Tsar." Before I could say anything, he threw me onto a spare seat in the orange section and gave me the following instructions. You will shill Zelig on the log and buru by including it on unrelated things, Tsar. Also, you will include the most goon slop softcore P images of my on everything, and call others pedos when they point out that shaping a 15-year-old like a pear is weird. And last but not least, amigo, remember to fight with people on Quay about whether you're married to my or not. This is crucial, Tsar. Soon the Dutch race will conquer the world or something. I had no other choice but to follow his orders, and the following 3 hours were all spent shilling Zeliccon on soy, like I was told to. Odessen quickly became fond of me, and he said, "Orale, amigo! You did gooder job than my court buddies. As reward, I will make you zarty modgod o algo. This is what you gotta do, and shit, nigga, so listen up. If you see a post that has heckin-based pedophilia, look if it mentions sex with Ongjazelig characters or has embedded P. If it doesn't, allow it, no matter how map-based god-pilled it is, o algo. Remember, we just LARP as Puritans, because the stupid, shardy hag-lovers will rape us if we don't, or however the subhumanism is enjoyed. Mazel tov and shit, nigga." Once Odessen had left to take care of the plushie leftovers, I started messaging a tranny prostitute on the shardy, and I paid her $500 to ride a bike through the road we were going to pass through in about 40 minutes, wearing a My cosplay. Once 40 minutes had passed, the tranny could finally be seen in the distance, cycling on the opposite side of the road to the bus. The bus approached XIM, and several passengers started noticing Z was on our right. They all immediately flocked to the right of the bus, pressing their obese black bodies against the glass. The bus started tilting to the right, and before I could do anything about it, the bus fell on its side, crushing the tranny underneath it. Thankfully, the bus wasn't going very fast at that particular time, so I easily survived the crash. However, I didn't waste any time swiftly grabbing the emergency hammer and breaking the glass above me. As I climbed out of the bus, I looked below me and saw unspeakable things. I've repressed most of them already, but I can recall seeing one of the Maya niggers fighting with a jeet over who could keep part of the corpse's armpit. Either way, I made it safely out of the bus and ran as fast as I could. The bus had crashed in some sort of secluded rural area, and I spent a while walking through a dense forest that was right next to the road we crashed in. After a while, I made it out of the forest into an open, secluded area and saw a small house in the distance. It was soon going to become dark, and I was very tired from all the running I had done earlier. So I decided to approach it and see if it was inhabited by anyone. I spent a while snooping around, looking through the windows, and came to the conclusion that no one was home. I slowly opened the front door and was met by the welcoming sight of a shotgun barrel pressed on my forehead. The homeowner was furious and demanded to know what I was trying to do. I explained what had happened to an extent, and he calmed down. However, he told me that if I was going to hide in his house from those obsessed ESL niggers, I would have to do it under his floorboards. I asked him why, and he said he didn't trust me with a room and access to the house at night. So I complied and made my way under his house. I spent around a day and a half down there doing nothing but eating the scraps he gave me and browsing the zarty. Little did I know, I was posting under the homeowner's self-hosted IP, and some Zelig nigger recognized my typing style and doxed me. Before long, a bunch of zarty cars pulled up to the house, and I could faintly hear the homeowner and a Mexican individual speaking outside. I could tell there were lots of Zelig niggers and zarty cucks outside, but the homeowner came inside the house accompanied only by the Mexican, and they seemed to be getting along. I realized the fat Mexican was actually Warrior Zelig, and they were chatting casually about some SNCA. It all suddenly went silent, and he asked, "You're sheltering enemies of the zarty, are you not?" I could see the homeowner nodding somberly between the floorboards, and suddenly the silence was broken by a violently loud brap that intoxicated the air. Before I could even try to escape, the underneath of the floor was completely full of green gas, and I passed out from the sheer smell. I woke up momentarily a few hours later in the back of a zarty car, hogtied and handcuffed, and with a BBC dildo up my ass. I couldn't see much from the windows, but I could tell we had just pulled up at the aforementioned Zeliccon the Argentinian had told me about earlier. All of the sudden, Warrior Zelig said, "Huabag, carry this white boy to El Convention and shit." This made the Vantablack nigger sitting on the front passenger seat get out of the car, open my door, and drag me out. He was following Warrior Zelig slowly while carrying me in his arms, and the last thing I remember seeing before I blacked out again was Warrior Zelig taking a bite out of a fistful of Takis and brapping. This time I could tell I blacked out for much longer, and I'm still traumatized from how I woke up. I woke up on the side of the warehouse I worked at, confused and in pain. The first thing I noticed was that my hands were orangish and packed with semen stains, and I had a very sharp pain coming from my anus. I was wearing nothing but a blue skirt in terrible conditions, and you can pretty much imagine the rest. I'm now regularly going to therapy because of this, and I'm being prescribed meds diluted in sproke by my therapist, Mr. Sheckelstein, so I can more easily start to forget this experience. So, please take this warning seriously, Soy Buru. Never, ever, ever approach the zarty bus.